palestra é o seguinte: Ads Strategy. How to build meaningful digital experience from your customers. Ok? Então, a gente vai falar de estratégia de ads, né? A gente já falou um pouco de mídia paga ali, a gente vai falar mais um pouquinho com a Sônia. Quem é a nossa palestrante? É Sonia Zmihi. Ela trabalha na Gamned. Ela é formada em uma das melhores escolas de Paris, pessoal, Science por Paris. Ela ingressou no mercado, né, e desenvolveu criatividades em grandes marcas de luxo como Chanel e L'Oréal. Depois, ela focou muito na inovação, mergulhou em empresas menores, começou a trabalhar com startups e hoje ela é pioneira em marketing de influência e ela ingressou na Gamned em 2017. Ela agora é responsável pela comunicação global da Gamned e ajuda a desenvolver essa marca internacionalmente. Sonia, it's a pleasure have you here doing a lecture to us. Outstanding, great curriculum that you have, great experience that you have. It's a pleasure to share the knowledge that you have to us. Okay? So, Sonia, feel free to start your lecture, and after I'm gonna come back to do the Q&A with everybody. Okay? Good lecture to you. Bye-bye. See you in 1 minute. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm going to share my presentation real quick, and then I'll be with you. Present. There you go. You should be seeing my screen by now. I think you can still see me. Nice to meet you all. I hope you're all doing wonderful. I wish I could have been with you today in Brazil, but coronavirus decided otherwise. So I'm going to do this presentation remotely from France. Just a quick introduction. My name is Sonia. Thank you so much for the introduction, guys. I'm really honored to be with you. I am in charge of global marketing and communication for Gamned. Gamned is a digital advertising company specialized in programmatic media buying. We have offices all around the world, but specifically we have a great team based here in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, and I'm sure they'll be really happy to talk to you if you guys have any questions or interest in programmatic media buying after this presentation. Today, I want to talk to you about experiences. Life is full of them, whether they are happy, hard, life-changing, or just silly random things that happens every day. But more specifically, I'd like to talk to you about digital experiences and all the interactions that we have with brands every day through our screens, when we are watching a tutorial on YouTube, when we are reading an article online, when you are checking out a recipe, when you are spending time on social media, scrolling down your feed, when you're listening to a podcast, or simply when you're just watching your favorite show on replay. So we spend a lot of time in front of our screens, and those are all digital experiences, and they are opportunities for brands to talk to you and to address their audience. Here again, those experiences, they can be either very pleasant and memorable, or they could be really annoying. And I think we can all think of a time when we deliberately chose to watch a 30-second video. Let's say when we were doing something, we came out to a nice video and it was just so good and interesting and eye-catching that we decided to watch it. But what's interesting is that most of the time when I say digital advertising, when I say that I work in advertising, the first thought that comes to people's mind are all the times when we felt attacked by an ad that just popped on our screen and that really disturbed us and that really annoyed us. And that's something that I'm trying to change, and that's why I'm here with you today to tell you how to break up with that image and how to create meaningful digital experiences online for your customers. You know, for as long as I've been working in advertising, I've always liked to compare it to a big seduction game. And I think today the biggest goal for brands is to create a spark and to make their audience fall in love with their stories and therefore with their product and with their services. And we're at a time when the emotional dimension plays a huge role in the way that we consume products. And becoming a love brand is really super, super important. And it means winning your consumer's heart and building a strong, I would even say an intimate relationship with every single one of them. And so our role at Gamned, but I think really the role for anyone who works in advertising, anyone who works in marketing and communication really is to be like a modern matchmaker. I think we're all like little cupids with our bow and with our arrows trying to make those relationships work and trying to create the perfect match between a brand and a customer. In marketing, there's a popular term called engagement. You've probably heard it before. And I don't think that's a coincidence that if you're connecting with a brand, you're considered engaged. So that's exactly proving my point that advertising actually is a seduction game, and that at the end of the day, the goal for every brand is to put a ring on it, as Beyonce would say. Today, engagement is really a key metric because it shows how your content strategy aligns with the user's interests, but mostly a customer's engagement is related with your overall profit with your overall turnover, so with your money really. And when you think about it, an engaged customer is more likely to buy your brand because he's interested in it. He's more likely to become a frequent buyer, so to come back again and again and again. But also, and that's something that you have to consider and keep in mind, it's really like a positive circle because an engaged customer has the potential of becoming a brand ambassador and therefore to recommend your product and services, to recommend your brand, and to engage at his own turn other people in his circle. So now that I've said all that, how can you actually build those relationships? How does the magic happen on digital screens today? To answer that question, let me give you our love brand recipe in 2 easy steps. It should only take about 10 minutes, and I definitely recommend that you try this at home. The first step would be to find the right match for you, the right match for your brand. So that simply means defining your targeted audience, defining who you want to talk to. The second step would be to create the perfect date and the perfect environment for the romance, for the relationship to grow and to flourish. And so that would translate into making a good first impression. That's very important because we all tend to judge by the first impression that we get from people, from brands, etc. And from there, start to build a lasting and strong relationship. So first, the right match for your brand. When you enter the dating scene, when you're looking for a partner, you usually have a type in mind, or at least you have like a vague idea of what you're looking for in your partner, right? Well, brands, they have their ideal target too. I think I know what I want. I think I know who I want to address. And to reach that target, advertisers can really rely on the power of data. Data is really key. It's super important in digital advertising. So there's so much available today that you can activate to customize your audience and to customize your targeting. And it can either be your own data that you own, it can be data from existing partners that you have, or you can simply buy data from data vendors. Let me give you 2 examples of data that could be really helpful for you to narrow down your audience to a core of potential customers. First, you could go by profile, or that's what we call socio-demo data. Let's say you are a trendy fashion company, you're selling shoes. Your target definition, who you want to address, it's probably going to be something like female between the age of 25 and 40 maybe, who live in big cities, who have like very active lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. So if you think about it, it's really like you are building your dating profile on a dating app, and you are describing what you're looking for so that the only people who see you on the app are the people that you are interested in and who you want to talk to. You could also go by interest. You can create your audience based on common interest. It's always good to know that when you meet someone that you're going to share some common interest. So you have things to talk about that are interesting for both of you. What are they into? What are they looking for? What do they like? It can be anything from fashion, food recipe, wellness, gaming, travel, anything really. And for each category, we can activate a specific data segment so you can address those people. Let me give you another example, because I think it's always the best way to explain how programmatic advertising works, and it's really simple. If you are a food company that sells organic eggs randomly, we can target people that have interest, for example, in cooking. We could also target people who have just a general interest into consuming organic products and who are careful about what they eat and what they buy. And then what we can do is that we can associate your brand with related content, such as recipe for which you would need eggs, or even, I don't know, we could go even into beauty and maybe associate your brand with the content about a homemade hair mask where you would need an egg for some reason, or I don't know, something like that. So you see, you have really many ways to make sure that you address the right audience and to create the right match for your brand. Data is also super useful, and it also allows you to customize your message and to make every interaction unique. And I think nowadays we all want something that's very customized, and we all want to feel special. For example, I'll take my own example. Let's say you are Sephora. You have Sephora in Brazil, right? And I'm probably not the only beauty consumer here, so you probably can relate to what I'm going to say. So you are Sephora. You have my profile in your database because I'm a huge consumer. You know that I just bought a Chanel sunscreen because it's summer, because I want to protect my skin, SPF, blah, blah, blah. And so what you can do is that you can, in the next coming days or in the next coming weeks, whatever, whenever you want, you can start to push other products to encourage me to shop again, to come back to you, and maybe to complete my skincare routine. So, I have a sunscreen, but maybe I would need a moisturizer, or maybe I would need a night mask or anything to complete my skincare routine. Even better, based on the date when I bought the sunscreen, and that's something that Sephora does for sure. I'm 100% convinced that they do that. Based on the date when I bought the sunscreen, you can anticipate a time when my product is going to be done, and by then you can start promoting it again and pushing it again, because you know that I'll most likely need to buy a new one. And as a consumer, it's going to be really interesting for me, because I'm going to be like, oh, wait a minute, they know that I bought it, they know that I've probably been using it, and that it's empty now, so I need a new one. So as a consumer, this is going to make me feel seen, and it's going to make me feel understood, and well, there's a big chance that I'm actually going to make another purchase. And just one last detail, if you see this little image on the screen, another way that you can use data and customize your message is that if your goal is maybe for me to come and visit the store instead of just buying online, what you can do is you can use my geolocation, and you can point me out the closest Sephora around me, so I can just stop by, get my sunscreen, and leave. On top of all that, and that's one last thing that I want to say about data, your digital campaign itself, once it's running, it will be a good source of very useful data. You will be able to get great insights about your targeted audience. How did they react to your message? What do they like? What do they buy? How do they buy it? Like, what's their what's the typical thing that they do when they come to your website, how do they get there, how many times do you need to talk to them for them to come to your website. All those informations are really precious, and they will allow you to build up your knowledge and to do even better with time. And at Gamned, that's one of the reasons why we like to work with clients for a very long time, because the more we work together, the more data we get, and the more powerful and insightful your campaigns are going to be. And that's enough about data. I won't talk about data anymore. Once you know exactly who your target is, the seduction game is on. You can start planning the perfect date. When you meet someone, whether it's the first date or if it's been 3 years or 10 years or 20 years, you want to live cool experiences together. You want to keep things interesting at all times so you don't get bored. So what do? You find cool places to go. You go on trips. You try new things. You send out gifts. You make surprises, all those things. Well, same thing in digital advertising. You have all the tools necessary to create great experiences that will win over your audience and make you, and you'll make them remember you by doing that. So first thing I want to talk about is context. To me, it's all about the context. And it's like, when you think about it, when I said create the perfect date, when you think about it, it's like finding a bar or finding a restaurant for your date. You have to make sure that the environment that you create is perfect, and that it helps you create the right vibe, and that you're sending the right message, and that the person that you want to seduce is going to enjoy the moment and is going to be in the best mood for your message that you want to deliver. Well, for advertising message, it's exactly the same. You can select the type of media and even the type of content that you want to be associated with. This way, you're ensuring your brand safety, and your ads, your messages, your brand is placed in a context that fits your brand images and values, so it doesn't do any harm to your image. For example, if you are an airline company, that's a very simple example. You might want to be associated with media and with content about travel, about holidays, all this good stuff. But certainly you don't want to be associated with any plane crash or any other bad news of the sort. So to avoid that, what we can do is that we have you set up the right context by using blacklist to block certain media and certain type of contents using keywords that don't fit your brand, that you don't want to be associated with. My second point will be about creating meaningful digital experiences, and I will never stress this enough. When it comes to advertising, creativity really is key, and there are always two parts to that, in my opinion. There's always your message and your delivery, so the way that you present your message. So first, about your message. Today, we buy emotions. We don't buy product, we don't buy services, I don't think we even buy brands anymore. We buy emotions for the way brands make us feel. And customers, they want to feel close and they want to feel aligned with the brand that they'll consume. In a recent study that we conducted in Brazil among advertisers and agency, that was all during the confinement, during coronavirus time, 5 out of 10 companies said that after the pandemic and after this crisis, they will definitely focus on messages about their brand values and messages about their positive actions rather than strictly on their product. And I really think that's the way to go. Nowadays, ads, they should be considered as cultural prints. That's a very important term to me. Every advertising message that you put out there, it should be representative of the audience that it's addressing, of their concern, of their way of lives, and it should really speak to them. So there should always be a creative reflection, whether you are working on your next video campaign, whether you are doing a simple banner, if you're just planning a post on your social media, that should always be a creative reflection, because all of these things, there are ways in which you will connect with your target, and each message should have a positive impact. Whether it's an emotion, it's a lesson, it always has to be something positive, inspiring, and impactful. Now about the delivery. So that was about the message. Now the delivery. This part gets really fun, and with time, there are so many cool ways to broadcast your ad online on digital screens. And if you still think that programmatic is only about banners, you have to forget this idea for sure. But here again, I'll just give you a few examples of very impacting formats that are available in programmatic and that you can use. And the first would be, I'm just going to cut the sound, I don't know if you hear it. So the first would be video. It's one of the most popular formats right now. Video advertising is a great way of doing branding. And I think in a 6-second video, you are capable of conveying so much more information than in any type of banner, any type of article, any type of content, and it's really a lot more impacting and just nice to watch. The second thing would be wallpaper, or more often called skin. There are great ways to be seen. It's a great branding format as well that will allow you to take over a media page and be very creative. And in here for this format, the context is very important, as your brand will be associated with the media and with the content on the page. The third, and it's one of my favorite, I'm going to speed up a little bit because I think I'm running out of time, but I'm almost done. So just bear with me for a few minutes. Third, and it's one of my favorite, as I was saying, is in-read. This format is placed in the heart of editorial content, and it's so well integrated that often you don't even realize that it's an ad. They are very subtle, non-intrusive, and they work really well to provide value to the reader. And I think it's just one of the nicest way to do advertising nowadays. Last but not least is social media. There are so many formats that are very impactful and that are also really well integrated, because when you think about social media as a platform, we spend so much time in it. And what's interesting for advertisers is that when you go on social media, usually you are there to find inspiration, you are here to discover new things, so you're going to be a lot more receptive to an advertising spot. And last thing I want to talk about, and that's going to be my last point, after that I'll leave you all alone. I want to talk about something that I've always considered a true advantage of digital advertising, and it's something that you can't actually do when you are doing traditional media, is how you handle your storytelling. What I mean by that is that you can orchestrate your message in a very precise way, and you can walk your client in the direction where you want to take them progressively. I'll just go back to my metaphor about dating. It's been a while since I haven't done that. When you've just recently met someone, you're not going to tell them right away everything about your life. You're not going to go into every single detail. You're not going to ask them straight away to marry you. You're not going to go full disclosure, right? So same thing in digital advertising. It allows you to do exactly the same. Let's say you are addressing a new customer with your offer or with a new product and they don't know you maybe. The first thing you want to do is maybe introduce your brand and its values. Then maybe a second message would be about a specific product. A third interaction, you can push an offer or an advantage or something. And this way you create a nice path for them to discover your brand and to discover your universe, right? And again, here you can go from a video that's very inspirational to an in-read to provide some content, and then a product or whatever. I think I'm really running out of time, so I hope you get the point. And one last interesting that you can do using digital advertising is that you can create the exact amount of pressure that you want to put on each target. It's like asking yourself, how long will it take for them to fall in love with you? Is it going to take 4 dates? Is it going to take 10? Maybe it's just going to take 1 and it's going to be love at first sight. You can decide how many times you want to expose your audience to a message, so you don't overdo it and you don't annoy them when they don't want to see you. And it's a way of respecting their space, but it's also a way of preserving your brand image, and that's something really important that you want to keep safe. So that's my recipe. If you respect those 2 pretty basic steps, you should be able to engage your audience in a meaningful and in a very effective way. Thank you all so much for your attention. I don't know if we have much time for questions, but if you want to know more about programmatic, about Gamned, about what I've just said, here's my contact information. You can email me, you can add me on LinkedIn, or I'll be very happy to redirect you to a member of our wonderful team in Brazil. Again, thank you so much for your attention.
Hi, Sonia. I'm back. I'm here.